Just play along with me. Put your fingers behind your head like it was bunny ears in a photo. Behind your own head.
All right.
Tell me when you've done that.
I got it.
Can either of you see your fingers?
Oh yeah, without the camera we can't see shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a fucking alpha being. You're the apex predator on this planet. Whether you're the guy who never speaks up in a meeting or if you're fucking the Rock. We're all part of this species that's so badass, we don't even have eyes in the back of our head. We're running shit here, all right?
Yeah.
But most people aren't clear on that. And the reason I bring that up is this. Saber-toothed tigers used to eat us. So we're designed to create spears, right? It used to be dark and we lit shit on fire. Everything in us is designed to turn any struggle we have into a strength. But we're locked up in all this BS, man. We're locked up inside of our own minds of what your fifth grade teacher, maybe like me, told you about yourself, or that guy told you about yourself in your college relationship, or someone laughed at you when they found out you had Tourette's. You've got to be willing to challenge that. You're part of the species that's programmed to turn a struggle into a strength.
Well, it's time for a change now.
No hesitation. Tune in, yo. Ace's motivation. It's all about your will. When your enemy is weak, go for the kill.
Alrighty, welcome to SHOTCAST episode 15. And today we're here with an electronic guest by the name of Kurt Richardson. And what are we here to talk about?
2020.
Oh yeah, 2020, baby. So first, Lang, tell us what we're here to talk about since we got a new guest on the show.
Man, it's cool. It's cool to have KRich in the house, and chatting with him. Shared a story and it resonated, and I think it's a great topic, and that's a way to turn your struggles into strengths, or allow your struggles to uncover your strengths, and I think there's a ton of value in that because we all have them. There's no doubt that every one of us walking this earth has had some kind of struggle here and there. And so that's how we're going to roll. We'll get down today.
Yeah, we're actually in the behind-the-scenes studio upstairs, and we were going over some topics to talk about. And, you know, KRich popped up in Lang's head and my head. We said, why don't we hit him up and see, you know, what he thinks is valuable right now. And he hit us with some knowledge. And we came up with this topic because I think a lot of times people let their struggles take over their life or maybe affect them in a negative way, when really those struggles can make your strengths and make your greatest moments in life. So before we get started into this topic, you know, with straight shots, I want just KRich, you know, to explain who he is, what he does, and why he's here today.
Appreciate it, fellas. So my name is Kurt Richardson. In simplistic forms, I like to think that I help people take advantage of the access that they could have never taken advantage of in the previous 200, 300,000 years of human history. So I like to show people and businesses how to do more and be more. And I've used my experiences working at Fortune 500 companies, working with some of the most elite athletes on earth, and seeing what we can curate and create for them to also use those same strategies to help the average Joe or Jane Schmo go from A to B in their life as well. So excited to be on here and give a couple shots.
Awesome, man. We're glad to have you. I see you've been working a lot with the NFL, too.
I do. I work with, I think, 11 teams right now in the NFL. I work with 5 or 6 of the top football teams in the country, Florida State, Oklahoma State. Work with a lot of the top players, Saquon Barkley, Mr. MVP, Lamar Jackson, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, and a bunch of others on what they do off the field. What, you know, these guys are going to spend a little bit of time in the NFL, and then they're going to spend a lot of time in life. So after the cameras turn off and the lights go away, they're going to be judged from the neck up, and that's what I hope to show them how to do, is take advantage of the small window of time in the NFL to build this off the field life that will be long lasting and be able to be passed down to their sons and daughters, which the NFL will not be.
That's awesome, man. And are you allowed to say your picks for the Super Bowl? Or?
Yeah, man. It's interesting right now. As we're recording this live, I was just getting ready to send my nephew a text. He's the only Houston Texas fan I know in the world. But right before I did, my wife was like, hey, they're losing now. So I had picked the Minnesota Vikings the Chicago Bears to play the Kansas City Chiefs. In fact, Andrew Lang was one of the first people that knew that pick. He said, we were at a golf thing, bachelor party, and he said, who's going to the Super Bowl? So I like the Chiefs and I like the Bears. So I definitely missed on the Bears, and maybe I'm missing on the Chiefs. I don't know. The last I had heard, they were leading.
That's awesome, man. Well, thanks for coming out on the show, especially out on a limb. Last second call, you showed up, so we appreciate you, man. And let's get straight to it, Lang. So tell us about how, some of your struggles could uncover your strengths, or has that happened to you in your life?
Yeah, like I said, we all have them. We all have opportunities. We all have things that were rough, maybe weren't fair. And I would say one of the ones that probably shaped me the most as a man, as a young man, was being diagnosed with Tourette's syndrome. And I know I just put this on something not too long ago. And KRich, I've known him for a while. He didn't even know, right? So
I didn't even know, by the way.
Yeah. So when I was, I would say 8 or 9, man, you start going through the symptoms that Tourette's syndrome brings. And I didn't know what to do with it. Nobody knew it. There weren't HBO specials about it at that point in time. And so I don't know, just thought I was messed up. And you go to your pediatrician and you go do all that, and nobody knows what to do with it, and talk to some psychiatrist, and they're trying to dig into your, I don't know. I don't even know what they were doing, cashing a check, I guess. But and so it wasn't until 5 or 6 years later where I was at University of Michigan, and they said, yeah, that's what you got, big fella. And gave me some medicine, knocked me out for 24 straight hours. And so I said, I'm never taking the medicine again. And so from that moment on, I knew it. I knew that I had this thing, and it was uncomfortable when stress crept high. It was a pain in the ass, and but I knew it at that point. And so now it's just what the hell you do. How do you deal with it? And I got teased, and hell, I thought I had asthma there for a minute. You didn't know what was going on, and so there's no cure, right? So here you go, deal with it and figure it out. And then, oh, by the way, still be successful and go to college and all that good stuff. And so I would say it was traumatic in the beginning because you don't know what this thing is and know what to make of it. And then there's the outward movements, right? So people can see it, people can notice it. And so if you're conscious about your body, or as you grow and you wonder if people are looking at you crazy because you got acne or whatever it is, well, you add that onto the thing. And yeah, I was in my own head probably a ton, thinking things through 4 or 5 steps ahead. And that was a thing that to this day, 48 years old, I'm still carrying with me. I got good at hiding it. This is why you guys didn't know nothing about it. But I would say that one of the bigger challenges of my life, and if I'm to share how did I turn that into a potential strength, it's crazy. It really goes back to the public speaking thing, and the last thing you want to do if you are you got some movements or people are going to notice something, the last thing you're going to do is get up in front of 100 people, 200 people, 500 people. That's not going to happen. And so the coolest thing about it was it allowed me not to shy away from it. I didn't do very good at this public speaking thing in the beginning of my career, but through KRich and some other folks helping me out, this was a way to maybe take my biggest fear and go straight at it. And man, and so now it's I don't know if I control it. I don't worry about controlling it, to be honest with you, anymore. If you see it, you see it. I'm good with it. Hell, I'm talking about it on a podcast. But at the end of the day, I think what it really allowed me to do is, even though being in your own head can be difficult at times, and some people give you flack for it, and you probably should, at the same time, you think things through, you make sure you make good decisions. However, it allowed me to get up and face probably my biggest fear, 2 in 1, so to speak. And so now it gives you a lot of confidence. If you can do that, you can do a lot of things. So that would be one of the ways that a struggle of mine became a strength of mine, and I didn't ever think that was going to be possible.
Awesome. So did you talk about just public speaking? Because that was directly in line with the Tourette's you had. If you got good at public speaking, you would get good at hiding the Tourette's or not worrying about it? Or
No.
How did that connect?
I would just tell you that you have this thing where you have these movements. The last thing you want to do is go put it on display. And so to be able to conquer that, to be able to get up there and not worry about it, it helped me not worry about other things in life, other fears in life. If I can get over that one, then man, I can get over just about anything, to be honest with you.
And which one was the bigger fear, the Tourette's or the public speaking?
Man, that's a good question.
Yeah,
I would say Tourette's for sure, because there's so much unknown with it. And I can get off the stage and run away.
Yeah.
I'll have to do that again. But I can't run away from this. So
I think you did a good job with that. You attacked something that you feared, and you said if you could get public speaking down, the Tourette's, would be covered, and you don't have to worry about that anymore. The opposite end of that is a lot of people, that would have Tourette's. Maybe they would go the opposite end and not publicly speak and just try to stay away and not speak up at all. And think about how that could hinder somebody's life and affect them long term, especially with starting off like that. So just one last thing before we get to KRich, was there anything like a breaking point in your life where you said, I'm not going to let this hold me back, I'm going to start attacking my fears? Was there anything that came up that just made you make that switch, or was it from the beginning?
No, college life was big. It was the first time that I didn't have, mom and dad around, and so being on your own, and hey, you need to get it done one way or another, whether it's the laundry or getting some food in your belly or getting a job and making sure you had some spending money or being an adult. And so at that time, and obviously I'm meeting a whole bunch of new folks that I didn't know, and they were going to find out about it too. And so at that point is when I let people know that I had it. I wasn't afraid to let them know. And I made that decision in college because I knew I was going to be there for 4 years and see these cats, and so I'm not hiding it. And that definitely helped with other things in my life.
That's awesome. Alrighty, KRich, tell us a little bit about your struggles and opportunities growing up and how you got to a successful point like you are at today.
For sure. Hey, thanks for sharing that. It's funny that this comes up here. I texted him right away when I was listening to his bit of a testimony on Tourette's. I know him a long time, and knowing him in and work and out of work and everywhere in between, and have no idea. So it's pretty cool to hear. For mine, it's easy. I really think I have two superpowers in life. One of them is I'm really good at caring about things or not caring about things. That's not what we're going to talk about. But the other is seeing around corners. I believe I'm one of the best in the world, and sometimes people aren't comfortable with that. But I might be one of the best in the history of the world at seeing what's going to happen next and anticipating. And I know exactly where it comes from. I talked to Lang about it. I had a really rough childhood. I'm from the real hood, not the rap hood. I'm from the actual like projects, not like, oh man, we had a Rent-A-Center TV. Like Rent-A-Center didn't rent to us, that kind of thing. At one point I lived in Cranbrook housing projects here in Lansing, Michigan. The McDonald's across the street got robbed so many times it shut down its bank in there right now. If you drive down Waverly and Jolly in Lansing, Michigan, you're going to see a McDonald's shell. And you might never in your life have seen a McDonald's that got ran out of town. Wow. And this is across the street. So you couple that with just the reason that you think about how people end up in situations like mine, where I had probably 27, 28 houses between kindergarten and 12th grade, how you end up in housing projects. Similar story to many people. I had a mother with substance abuse problems. She had some health problems. I had to go live with my aunt, who also had some, substance abuse problems, less severe. But in both of those situations, it really forced me to get really good at anticipating. The one I shared with Lang, I tell everybody about it. It's tough because my mom's recovered and she's been a great lady for the last 30 years, but we had some hard times when I was a kid. And part of the negatives of growing up in that life is sometimes she would come home, she'd be looking to start a fight with my sister and I. My sister's passed away now, but we got really good at doing the dishes perfectly, at making sure the laundry was folded, making sure things were vacuumed, everything was put away. All the things that we knew, if she came in the house with that look, that glassy look, she would start looking for stuff as a reason to whoop our ass. And, over time, you get so good that I remember times where I would be pretending to sleep, and I would actually fall asleep because it was taking so long. You could hear it was like a tornado moving through the house, and you're anticipating when your bedroom door is going to whip open. But we got really good at this. Like, all right, you start to pay attention to a lot of cause and effect. Outside of our home, in our neighborhood, I remember in 7th grade, Christmas week, one of my best friends got killed. It was the first time I've only seen a couple people dead in person, but this kid got smoked right in front of us. And his name is Tyrone Sorrells. He'd be 40 years old last week, as a matter of fact, which is crazy. He died in 7th grade. But the older kids in our neighborhood that day were like, man, watch out. There's 2 dudes over here that shouldn't be over here. And I think about that all the time, because for the rest of my life, when I was in that situation, I would pay attention to which cars belong. I would notice things like, wow, no one's playing basketball today. No one's at the court. And I started having this sense of being super aware of surroundings and anticipating, well, what does everybody else know? Why is no one at the court? Or what does it mean that car is here? Maybe it's a policeman, undercover, narco. Maybe it's a bad guy. Maybe it's a guy that's going to come take Terrell Jordan's, shoot him in the face. And there's a lot of trauma that comes with that. But probably at 23 or 24, I realized that it was a superpower. That I could see, like, oh, these are the kind of questions this professor might ask. Oh, I bet this is the surprise homework. Oh, I bet this chick is going to like eating here. I think that this person in an interview is going to ask these kind of questions. And I got really good. I have deja vu almost like every single day. And I think a big part of that is I see things through so many times, and I can see around the corners, and it's served me well. One of my favorite things, Lang knows, one of my mentors, I'm a diehard Jay-Z fan, and his business partner, Jay Brown, has started to mentor us over the years. But going into his meeting the very first time, I had played out exactly how it was going to go and the opportunities I would have to connect, because he meets so many people. And it went just like I thought. When I left that meeting, the first thing I thought about was Christmas weekend 1992 when Terrell gets shot in the face. Like those... And everyone doesn't need that level of trauma, but the things that you're immersed with most often are also where your superpowers are going to come from. So that's really my spiel on that, in terms of struggles becoming the thing that help you survive, struggles becoming your advantageous weapons that you have to attack life. That's one of mine for sure.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much for sharing. I know some of that stuff is personal and near and dear to your heart, so we appreciate it. You were talking about, first when your mom used to come home, and you said that because she was abusive, that you and your sister got real good, God rest her soul, you guys got real good at, cleaning stuff up in the house, making sure things are perfect, and that drove and connected to, pretty much playing reverse psychology role in your life and figuring out what people like, what people are going to ask, and just studying people and just testing out the situation. Was it like that automatically, or at first did it hinder you or hurt you?
It wasn't like that automatically. So there's 2 things. One, it can be a thief of joy when you spend a lot of time thinking about, all right, if I go left and right, blah, blah. But I don't find myself too often that way. I wrote about it, and Lang might have seen my blog a few years ago. The last time I got burned by it was at Michigan State University my freshman year. I was a walk-on football player there, and I walked in, and one of my favorite people on earth, Coach Manny, the strength and conditioning coach, who's still there to this day, buried my ass because I wore a hat and earrings in there. And afterwards, I was straight victim. Like, what in the hell? No. I went back to, there's a thing called the Winner's Manual. I looked through all this stuff. There's no signs. There's no anything that says no hats, no earrings. But he's an old school dude, right? Yeah. And when we talked about it years later, he said 100 other guys got it right. Because in those conditioning sessions, there's 112 people that walked in there that day and didn't have a hat or earring. And man, I'll tell you, that was 1999. If my head wasn't on a swivel since then, I don't know what could have done it, because I got punished bad that day. But it was a real big breakthrough that took a couple years after that to realize. But I remember my first day where I met Andrew Lang was at Quicken Loans. I remember my first day, I didn't know what business casual meant. So I drove to the parking lot there on 8 Mile in Haggerty. I watched 10 people going to work, and I went over to the Myers across the street and bought some khakis and a sweater. I didn't know what it meant. And in 2004, or like late 2003, 2004, your phones didn't have internet, so I couldn't just Google business casual. It was my instinct from all of these experiences, like, okay, well, Kurt Richardson doesn't know. I don't have a dad. I don't have somebody that's successful that can tell me. I'm from the real hood, like I said. Mm-hmm. I have to just show up an hour early and see what business casual looks like. Watch these people go in the building, and then go over to Myers and buy what looks like what they wore. So those are 2 examples. One, the last time I got crushed was with Coach Manning. With the earrings, and then since then I probably have 2,000 examples like that. when I don't know what to do, I think I always know what to do. I shouldn't say when I don't know what to do. I know what to do is all right, really focus and see around the corner. What do people need and want? And it served me well. I mean, I've probably made hundreds of thousands of dollars off of that skill.
That's awesome, man. And I just summarized the top 10 takeaways of ending self-sabotage. And it talks a lot about that. It talks about the opposite end of that, of when your past is one thing. It's okay to have a past and have struggles in your life. The issue is when you take that past and those struggles with you and you define everything that you do based on those struggles in the past. And I think that hinders a lot of folks. And as you see listening or watching, as you see through the stories, that these opportunities and these things that happen in Lang's life and KRich's life, these traumatic things, some of them, ended up turning into great strengths in their lives that they're still driving towards today. And even for me, I mean, one of the opportunities that pops up in my head, I mean, my family came here, my parents came here from out of the country with nothing. My dad used to manage a branch of banks in Dubai, and he was a wealthy man, and he came here with nothing, not knowing English, and, he had to work. As soon as he got here, the only job he could get is a night shift gas station on, Joy Road and Greenfield, the BP with the McDonald's in it. Yeah, the real hood. I'm talking about people spitting in the bulletproof. He couldn't come out to even fill up a 2-liter pop in the fridge night shift down there. I'm talking about back 15, 20 years ago. And my mom was working at a factory, so things were hard for me growing up. I never really had much. All my friends had $20, $15 for lunch money, and I was packing up some stuff, the government cheese and shit, making those sandwiches, bringing them to work or to school. So in the beginning, it kind of hindered me, where I felt like I was left out, and I took a lot of that out of my parents, and, I just felt bad, and I felt bad about myself. And then I had, a cousin who, lost his dad to prison and lost his mom to death, and I really, really found out the value of just having my family there, and I kind of changed my perspective. That was kind of a life-changing event for me. And instead of, complaining and, wondering why I only have $5, why I'm the only kid in my family without a Christmas tree for Christmas, or why I'm the only one not getting presents, I said, you know what? I'm going to do everything in my power so when I grow up, I could take care of my parents, give them the life that they're trying to give me, and make sure that I never have to worry about these struggles myself. And that's why I started working at an early age. I had 2 jobs by the time I was 16, and I did everything in the books, from ice cream truck to Subways in the hood to gas stations to, starting businesses to throwing parties. I mean, you name it, I did it. And I was a kid outside having flyers. I was a kid on the school bus selling Twinkies, like whatever you call it. It made me a hustler. And that's how I turned that opportunity to a strength by, I said, I don't give a fuck no more. Excuse my language, I don't care no more. Whatever I gotta do, I'm gonna do. And I think that started that mentality early on, because I realized, like, my parents left everything for me. They're doing everything they can. Instead of sitting here whining like a little bitch, I'm gonna fucking make a change in my life, and I'm gonna make a change in their life. And I mean, that's that opportunity that happened, 15, 20 years ago. You look at me now, I retired both of my parents now. Thank God to my career, I was able to retire them both from the gas station and the factory. And I got an automatic deposit going into their account every month that I've been going for 5 years now, and that never dropped, and that'll never change. It's not even if I lose money or I get a pay cut. It's not like, oh, what do I decrease from my parents' fund? It's how do I make more money? And that's the only way I look at life now. And I think that's raised my standards in all aspects of life. And I think it's very important that I could have went the other way with that opportunity and said, oh, I don't got shit. Everybody else got everything. And I could start stealing and selling and doing the wrong things. But I didn't go that route. So it's very important. These routes that you hear us talking about has actually shaped our lives for the better, and it drives with us still till today. So that's my story I have. Yeah. So, I mean, kind of in the second part of the SHOTCAST, I just want to kind of talk about people out there. I want to, direct this to people listening, watching. What could they do to identify these opportunities? What could they do to make it a strength? We could start off with Lang. We could throw some tips out there.
Let me throw one in real quick,
please.
real quick.
Please.
So we've got Tourette's, serious condition, and we've got 2 people that grew up in what I would say is unusual poverty. So not just not having the things you want, but like ridiculous poverty. Parents are in life in this situation, try to make it right. What I want to do is just give one last scenario that maybe more people, if you don't find yourself, if you're listening to this and you don't find yourself in one of those, here's one that comes up about a lot, which is you get overlooked. You go to the meeting and you raise your hand and they don't call on you. Or the guy you like, the girl you like doesn't know you exist. All of that is a struggle as well, and you might feel some way, and it's bubbling. And I think what we'll get to in a few minutes also addresses that, right? Maybe you didn't have a serious medical diagnosis. Maybe you didn't grow up in poverty. Maybe your struggle is that you've never spoken up for yourself. maybe you've never asked for a raise, maybe you've never asked for what's yours, maybe you've never even tasted a dream. There's a lot of people living in that medium too. I'm always gonna, and I feel like this is the vibe I get from you too, Ace, I'm always gonna talk to the dudes from the gutter. Because there's no excuses, man. You can't sell me on nothing, right? Yeah. My saying is you cannot stop a go-getter. A go-getter's not waiting on anyone's ass to come help them. They're going and getting. So I'm always going to talk to them. But I think we got a unique opportunity with this topic too to talk about that person who two-parent family, went to college, got good grades, and they're just now getting shit on, but in a different way. They go to a meeting, no one asks their input, anything like that. I'll talk about that in a minute. So I just want to remind me to come back to that, because there's a lot of people that aren't on these extremes either, that are in somewhere in that middle, in that weird gray area, and it's killing them. They're dying. They might even be dead and they don't know it. It's going to take them 50 years.
You know what? You seem like you're hot. Why don't we talk about that right now? Go ahead and jump in it.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things is this. When that's happened, I've been that guy before, where I didn't feel like I had a voice. I had a teacher that was really tough on me. But again, you'll see, this is how I'm wired. Her name is Mrs. George, a fifth grade teacher. I've looked her up before because I wanted to shit on her one time in 2003 or 4. I got my first very big check. I got a $10,000 commission check. And I wanted to crush her. I remember... again, the internet wasn't as mature as it is now, but I found out she lived in Las Vegas, and I was literally like writing her a letter, and my girlfriend at the time was like, "You're a psycho. Like, don't." This lady's like 90 years old now, but she hurt me a lot. I had bad clothes, and she managed my bad behavior. I was a hyper kid. She would make me stand up, and I had like Cheeto dust on my jeans, and my shoes were always busted. And so she would punish me with stuff like that. But what happened is, in the same vein, when you're used to being in front of the class, I tell you what, 20 years later to right now, I just did a 7,000 person, what do they call it? I don't know. Like
seminar?
The seminar, yeah. 7,000 person, with big dogs on it, like Lewis Howes and them, you know what I mean? 5-figure paycheck. And that's all because Mrs. George used to shit on me, you know what I mean? So even that turned into something, but I remember, wanting to say to Corey Williams, "Fuck you, it's not my fault my mom's poor." I didn't say anything. I just let him crush me. You know what I mean? I remember feeling that voiceless thing. And so what happened was this, and this is the same for anything that's struggle that's going to become a strength. One day I said, you know what? It's not my fault I'm poor. If I'm poor in 10 more years, that's my fault. And I said that out loud, and I challenged somebody on it. And I'm crushing them in life right now, by the way, too. And I tell you, it's a weakness of mine, but I'm keeping score on a lot of people, gentlemen. I'm keeping score on a lot of people.
And whatever drives you.
Yeah, no, it's my fuel, man. My therapist back in the day is like, you got to let that go. And I'm like, all right, we can talk about anything else in the world, but not that, just because I know that's my SHOTCAST every day. I just shout out to him because I know he's one of the people that are watching. I just went and hung out with my boy Jack Lansing. Probably a month ago. He's building in Heartland, Michigan, a project of homes where a bunch of people have failed at this, but he's a winner. He's going to crush it. He's going to make $133 million. You guys can Google this, Jack Lansing, Heartland subdivision. But even him, I'm trying to shit on him because I didn't know I was poor until him in 3rd grade. I got some new shoes, and my friend Van got some new shoes, and his were Ruse, and they were cool, and mine were like XJ9000s. And Jack let me know that mine didn't count. But I think about that. Now, this is my boy, right? Jack is my real friend, and I'm rooting for him. I want him to sell all of those houses, but I'm trying to kill Jack. And so, again, struggle, and then that becomes fuel. Struggle, Miss George makes you stand up in front of the class, and you're not comfortable in your own skin. Well, what could be worse than that? Andrew talked about it with public speaking, right? I can at least run out of the stage. Right there is the skill we're talking about. If your mind starts figuring out solutions in fearful or scarce or tough situation, all right, you know what? I am going to go up on that stage because if the shit hits the fan, I'll just run off the stage. That's actually a skill. That's exactly what we're talking about. Like, I've got this struggle, but I'm building a weapon. My brain is seeing around the corner, anticipating ways for me to get out. But I've been that person. So here's what I'll say. You've got to, when you feel voiceless, when you want to ask that girl out, ask that guy out, ask for that raise, when you want to apply for the job that you think you've earned and no one's asked you to apply for it, the only way you can build that skill is to do it. And what I'll tell you is, the first time it stings, and then the second time it builds something. The first time is pain. The second time is minute one of skill development, right? The first time my mom came home and we had spots on the dishes, we got our asses whooped. The second time, it's like, all right, the dishes are good, but we didn't think to open the cupboards. Got our asses whooped. The third time, all right, the laundry wasn't full. You know, you've got to be willing to pay the price, but you're having the pain anyway. You're already feeling the doubt anyways. The only way you'll know that all of that rage that's built up in you, one of the things I believe in, and it might not resonate with everybody that listens to this, is most people aren't pissed off enough to be awesome. If you're sitting in that meeting and no one calls on you, if you got this great idea and no one's asking for it, you've got to let that rage build up to the point where you speak out and it's fueled you enough to go to the second or third, fourth person, the person that can finally notice you. You have to unbottle that. That'd be my spiel on that.
Awesome. I 100% agree. So you're pretty much saying that you got to attack these fears, like we talked about before. Attack every single fear you have, and the more you attack it, the more it turns into a strength. You can start building on that skill.
That's what we are. Everything any person listening to this is afraid of, or they were traumatized by, is actually a strength undercover. And so here's something I tell you guys to do. And I know you guys can't see me, and I can't see you, but just play along with me. Put your fingers behind your head like it was bunny ears in a photo, behind your own head.
All right.
Tell me when you've done that.
I got it.
Can either of you see your fingers?
Oh yeah, without the camera, we can't see shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a fucking alpha being. You're the apex predator on this planet. Whether you're the guy who never speaks up in a meeting or if you're fucking the Rock. We're all part of this species that's so badass, we don't even have eyes in the back of our head. We're running shit here, all right?
Yeah.
But most people aren't clear on that. And the reason I bring that up is this. Saber-toothed tigers used to eat us. So we're designed to create spears, right? It used to be dark and we lit shit on fire. Everything in us is designed to turn any struggle we have into a strength. But we're locked up in all this BS, man. We're locked up inside of our own minds of what your fifth grade teacher, maybe like me, told you about yourself, or that guy told you about yourself in your college relationship, or someone laughed at you when they found out you had Tourette's. You've got to be willing to challenge that. You're part of the species that's programmed to turn a struggle into a strength.
Gotcha. So why do you think?
Have eyes in the back of your head.
Why do you think some folks out there? Because I know folks in my life, and of course the folks that have drive and have a purpose and attack their fears. Those are the successful folks in your life. But on the opposite end, the folks that are most likely complaining about their opportunities and using them as a hinge on their life and not growing because of them. I mean, why do you think those folks don't see it the way that we see it?
Now that's the $1 million question, and my gut reaction is one of two things. The first thing is most people find shelter and not trying to be elite, right? I actually, the crazy thing to me, and this is true of the NFL, by the way, most guys don't care if they win or lose on Sundays. I would say over 90%, and that throws fans off all the time. I'll be behind the stain after a game, and all the fans will literally be crying because they lost. I think about the Dolphins losing to Baltimore on a 57-yard field goal in I think 2013, and literally in the family area behind the thing, people are dipping. We're going to Kiki's on the river, that's real. They and so. Most guys aren't diehard, passionate winners, even in the NFL. So I find the same thing in most people's lives. Most people don't want to be elite. They want the comfort of being average plus one. They want to be the most successful $58,000 a year person. They want to be the smartest 19 on the ACT person. They want to be in a group of average people and be average plus one. So that's one group, in my opinion. I'm not a doctor or a social scientist. The other is this. Some people believe Superman is real and someone else is going to come save them. Growing up the way I did and watching kids like you talked about have Christmas and I didn't have Christmas, watching my sister just a few years ago die of cancer, I realized that I have no expectation of. I don't believe there's anyone coming to save me. I believe if I died today that no one would send my kids $25 on their 5th birthday. No one would even think of it. They would get on with their lives. So I have tricked myself into believing I have to fix it. I have to speak up. I have to go get the skill that I don't have because no one's coming to save me. I believe that those two groups of people, the people that think Superman is real or someone else is going to save them, or the people that actually don't want to be elite, they want to be average plus one, I believe that encompasses a lot of the folks you're talking about there.
Yeah, and I think you threw out something important. You said that everything falls on you. You have no expectations of anybody else to take care of anything for you and your family. So you're always going to be the best version of yourself, because at the end of the day, it ultimately falls on you, which I think is an important mindset to have every single day when you wake up, because that forces you to be the best version of yourself.
Just spot on. Think about this. Look at your situation. There's about 8.5 billion people on this planet. How many of them are thinking about what your parents are going to do for dinner tomorrow?
Yeah.
Maybe 3 people.
Yeah,
man.
I'd say that many.
No one's coming to save you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'd say that many.
No one's hoping. Pardon me. No one's looking to throw a promotion your way. No one's. You know what I mean? Like, it's unfortunate. This is maybe my advice to that group. The meek will get left behind. Mm-hmm. You better speak up.
So when you work with these athletes and you work with these people, you know, I know me and Lang inspire and try to motivate daily. I know you're doing that on a larger scale, full-time, 100%. Do you work with people that are part of those two categories? And if you do you change them, or do they stay the same? And how do you change them?
Yeah, man, I deal with a lot of people that think. So I'll give you a couple examples that want to talk about easier. These guys' families don't get it. NFL there's no money in it for 70 or 80% of the people that are going to go through that thing. Mm-hmm. So first thing is this, I talk to the families a lot about saying this. Your son isn't going to the NFL, they're going to go through the NFL. Understanding that is important, because people think it's a destination. Your son's going to be 29 years old at some point, and he's probably going to be looking for a job. Right? I do an exercise with guys. I learned it actually from Lang's leadership groups back in the day. I go in with the rookies. I deal with most of the people that get drafted, about 30% of the guys that get drafted every year. And one of the things I do with them is I make them play paper, rock, scissors when we first come into the room. Right? These guys go nuts. I'll actually text Andrew Lang a video of the Jaguars, Gardner Minshew, right, in the front. These guys lose their mind about it. And what I do is I try to show them that when football's over, you're still going to want to compete. Right? And if you're not ready to compete in business, compete in family, compete in a non-profit, whatever it is, you're going to think about putting a shotgun to your face and pulling your head out. Junior Seau is a guy I think about almost every day. No one ever replaced competition for him. So even though he wasn't one of these guys that went broke, no one ever taught him the next thing. The people let him build that up. I want to do the opposite of that. I want guys to meet me and know that when the NFL's over, really nobody cares. God bless him, and I hate to even use the name, but I see Herman Moore regularly. He was a star when I was a kid. And dudes my age will come get a picture with him every now and then. But even Herman, they forgot about. Mm-hmm. People have moved on to Odell. And Odell's, by the way, right now, Odell's probably in his last 3 years. Think about that.
Mm-hmm. It's wild.
And there'll be some other dude, man. And that's the hard part. What we think about is the guys like Brady or Stafford, or these guys that are mainstays for 10, 12 years. It doesn't happen for most of these guys. Most of these guys are done at 25. And so that's my first thing, is trying to teach them that this is super temporal. And God bless you, you're going to make about $5 million in 5 years, and it's going to take most people 35 years to make $2 million. But you're going to want to do something after all of this. You're going to want to compete. You're going to want to compete, and you're going to want to be relevant. And you're going to want to have people cheer for you. When I'm doing the paper, rock, scissors thing, if you lose, you then got to go cheer for the guy that beat you. So if I just lost to Lang, then I got to, when Lang plays ace, I got to say Lang, Lang, Lang. And then when Lang beats both of us, now it's both of us going. And I do that intentionally to show them, damn, it feels good for people to cheer for you. But there's not a lot of people cheering for Lomas Brown right now.
And why do you think the records in the NFL or any sport, you always win at home and you always lose on the road? It's just wild, man.
It's cheering.
It's nuts.
I tell people all the time.
Same court.
Is worth 3 points.
It's wild.
Last Las Vegas. Clapping is worth 3 points.
That's so crazy.
The average margin of victory in the NFL is 5 points, and clapping's worth 3.
Huh.
Hey, that's wild.
Home field advantage is +3 at all times, and 3.5 maybe sometimes. Not to get on a tangent.
Listen, I think you're right on the money too, because we talk about tactical things to be able to help the regular folks that maybe didn't have a traumatic upbringing or story or what have you. Is just like you talked about with the NFL or any problem or any great thing. Sometimes we get in this spot where we think this is going to be like this for a long time, 5 years. This is going to be the way it is. And it never stays the same. Whether it's life in the NFL and I'm flying on jets and I'm getting money in the bank and I got houses and all this stuff, it never's going to last. Just like the same person that got overlooked in a meeting and didn't step up or didn't have somebody ask them the question. We have emotion, right? As we think, man, this job must suck because of this one meeting or a month worth of behavior. But man, oh man, and nothing ever stays the same. And so if I was to counsel somebody that was challenged with this, is just keep going at it, because at some point, what is the saying? Even a blind squirrel finds a nut. Man, you will, and maybe that's the little momentum builder that you need, even if you weren't trying to.
Sometimes you just got to see the ball go through the bucket one time, and it's back on. So what's Chauncey Billups? That shows my age, by the way, and how much I don't watch the NBA right now. So I don't supplant his name as Steph Curry or whoever the cool guy is. But I watched Chauncey 5 or 6 keep shooting them. Yep. That was the only thing that's going to get him hot again is seeing him go through. You actually, that's the premier point of this, Lang. If you are scared and shy and you're stuck in your own head, it does not have to be like that forever. And you may only need to see it work one time. But you do have to go do it. You do have to try it.
No doubt. But
you're right. You just got to see it one time. And I tell you this, I use Lamar as an example. You know, Lamar Jackson, Boynton Beach, Broward boys. That's, I spent the last 5 years before my sister passed away down there with the Broward Athletic League, and that's different, man. I know Detroit's got the Detroit Cubs, and they got a bunch of guys in the league from there, but I mean, the Broward Police League is about 40% of the NFL. And so, but you look at a guy like Lamar, and he tells a story with his mom. His mom made him keep playing. He didn't want to play football.
Wow.
Right? His mom, by the way, his mom's the biggest G in his mom. I almost would want her to go to law school or something, or do the Rich Paul, but the NFL's tighter on agents. She is the biggest gangster of all time. And I'll just leave it at that. But that's his agent right now. He can't call her his agent because of the rules, but
wow.
That's how it works. But Lamar Jackson, who's going to win the MVP next year, thought about quitting. And I wish everybody knew that.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know that. And you think about the casinos, why do they win? Because the gamblers see it through one time. They see that win. Isn't it funny how every time you go to Vegas, you won the first day as soon as you walk in there? It's like the camera recognizes your face. You're a brand new face. You about to hit on that roulette table. And then you fucking end up losing, which is funny. So I think there's a lot of valuable content here. KRich, I hope it's not your first and last time here. I hope you'll be back on the show.
I look forward to chatting with you guys.
You're very valuable. But I want to get straight into the shots. We'll give a shot of inspiration. That's why this is called SHOTCAST. We're trying to differentiate between the podcast and give somebody a shot that they could actually walk away with.
Yeah, I've heard you correct Andrew Lang on that a couple times.
Yeah. I correct him every time. He's still messed up today.
I appreciate you.
Hey, that's good.
We've already established that you are. There's only like 4 other people better than you that in the world. So
yeah,
I appreciate
we
that.
appreciate you. So we'll start with Lang. Why don't you give him your shot, brother?
So listen, just to what we're talking about. There's a story that I've done some research on. I've done even a couple communication presentations on it, and I think it fits. I think it fits in a big way to what we're talking about here. And sometimes we get stuck and we think the world is this way or a specific way. And so the story of David and Goliath comes up in my mind, in this again. And so we all know the story of David and Goliath is even yesterday with Baltimore losing. It's crazy, right? Like, I can't believe that they lost. In Tennessee, somebody would say that Goliath lost. The MVP, Lamar Jackson, and their defense and all this stuff, and they were the strong one, and they were upset. But man, not if you look at the Tennessee crew, they didn't think for 1 second. And so to pull that full circle to what we're talking about, you're going to be wronged. It's going to be unfair for you at times. You're going to get overlooked. You're going to have circumstances that you were born into that, holy shit, how are you even going to get out of that? But here's the cool part, at least if you want to look at it this way, is that David in that story was the real powerhouse. He was the one with all the advantages. You had Goliath standing there in all this armor. He could barely move, and David plucked him off from 200 yards out. It wasn't even a stressful thing. Like, oh, this is it. This is all you got, and boom, it ran over there, and so it was written, right? So in that story, even though we in history has pegged Goliath as the strong one, the one with all the advantages, that's not the case. David is the one. And each and every one of us is David, man. Do you know how much maneuverability that you have? You can get anywhere you want. You really can. Even if somebody is holding you down, you can just go way over here to the right. Think about all the opportunities that you have. I know some of them are hard and going to take a lot of learning and studying and extra time. And yeah, you might not be able to watch 6 episodes of Friends in a row. I get all that. However, you can go anywhere and be as agile as you want. There's no corporation with some rules telling you you can't do this and you can't do that. You are truly David, and you are the one that has all the power. And there's going to be some bumps in the road. I bet David had some bad days. But hopefully everybody listening to this understands that even if you are in that spot, it doesn't mean you have to be tomorrow. It doesn't mean you have to be the next day. And again, you just need one shot to drop in and boom, you're off and running. So understand you are David, embrace it, and realize that you are the one with the power, especially over your life, but even in the people that you affect and learn from. So that's my shot.
So awesome shot, Lang. Thank you.
Yeah, I got goosebumps, big guy.
Yeah, I actually read a stat the other week. I don't know if it was 1% or 10%. I'm pretty sure it was 1%. It said that if you live in the U.S., you are already the top 1% of the world.
By a landslide, man.
It might have been 10% maybe, but I'm thinking it's 1%.
It's crazy.
And that means that anyone listening in U.S. means you already have the advantage on the whole world. All right, KRich, hit us with that shot, man. We're waiting for this one.
I'm going to tie it into Lane's story about the Titans yesterday. Check this out. Here's the shot. Play it through, y'all. If you're the guy or gal that had trauma, if you're the person who hasn't spoke up, you have to go at least once or twice and see what's on the other side, because you don't know. My boy, Mr. RG3, not the famous Heisman winner, but my boy Roger Saffold III, played in the Super Bowl last year for the Los Angeles Rams. And in September or April of this year, he got traded to the Titans. And I was like, man, damn. But you know who started that left guard for the Titans yesterday?
Your boy.
Roger Saffold III. You know who's still going to have a shot at being a Super Bowl champion this year? Roger Saffold III.
Not the Rams.
You go from the Rams, the city, man. It's different out there in Thousand Oaks, California. It's different out there. It looks great. And I was thinking, I'm one of the people. I'm like, damn, that's terrible. But look at him. My boy RT, my brother, Ryan Tannehill. Woo!
It's another one.
It looked bad for a second. Like, oh, this is a wrap. They're going to send you over here to be a backup for 2 years, and then you're going to do something else with your life other than be a quarterback. Wrong. Shows what I know. Shows why I'm not involved in the front offices. But the whole point is, play it out. Ryan doesn't go there and think he's a backup. Roger doesn't go there and say, woe is me. You know, I'm not in. I can't go to Nobu. I don't live near Pepperdine anymore. Go play it out, y'all.
Play it out, no doubt, man.
That's a strong
Such
shot.
good advice.
That's a strong shot.
Man, we think we're so smart sometimes, man. We get it all figured out. We know what's going to happen, and nope.
Yeah, go play it.
Play it out. Just play it out.
Yeah, make the best with the hand you're dealt, right? So, I mean, my shot is going to be simple. It's what we've been talking about the whole time. Obviously, everybody goes through adversity in their lives, and my shot is to turn that adversity into fuel. Like you heard KRich saying earlier that, you know, his fuel is he's keeping check on the folks that doubted him, right? And him doing better than those folks in his life is his fuel to, you know, keep going. So my advice would be figure out what that opportunity is or what that thing is in your past that's hindering you or, you know, holding you back or maybe that you're making as an excuse or a reason, and figure out how you can flip that to the opposite. And to give you an example, my thing was, you know, my parents were working hard. I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't have things like other kids. So how do I flip that to the opposite? How do I get to a point where my parents are not working hard, where they have money, where I got a stack in my pocket, where I got a range in the driveway, I'm living in a nice house? How do I do that? And then how do I make those actionable items every single day? And the way I did it was I stopped giving a fuck and I just started giving my all on everything that I did. I didn't care what kind of job I had to do, what I had to say, who I had to get in front of, who I offended, who I embarrassed, how I looked. None of that mattered. All that mattered was how do I flip this situation that's my adversity to the opposite and make it my strength and my, you know, be the superhero in my own movie. So I question and I challenge you to figure out what your adversity is, what your opportunity is. How do you flip that? And put your all into flipping it every single day, every minute of the day, every second of the day. That's my shot.
Turn your struggles into strengths.
Turn your struggles into strengths. Man. You know, the greatest do.
Good stuff, man. Hey, turn it up in 2020. I'm sure we could probably get bigger screen TVs and different things. But hey, we got it raw, straight from KRich via satellite. Man, it's good to hear your voice, man. I miss you, big bro, and I hope we do get a chance to do this again.
Guys. Keep doing this. This matters to people. Someone's gonna watch this one and get married because of it. They're gonna say, you know what? Damn it, I'm shooting my shot.
And KRich, before we say goodbye, just drop your Instagram handle, your Facebook handle, man. Me and Lang look at your videos. You got some good shit out there. What's your handles, bro?
Yeah. Hey, my Instagram is @EncoreKurtis, _KURTIS. That's my main one, and then the business little motivational one's linked to that. And I actually have about 39 videos in the can right now. Nice. So my YouTube will be going soon, but I don't know what that is. But you can find, I think that link is in my Instagram. That's where you find me.
Yeah, and you never know, man. If you watch me and Lang's first SHOTCAST, you could see the growth with every single video. You know, we started off with wrinkles in the background and the voice wasn't clear, and then just shit got better and better and better from the way we talk and the way we act. And now even
what
like
I did is I have a whole private network for private clients, and I don't want to give that away yet.
Yeah,
I don't want to give that away yet.
Keep the treasure.
So I had to take all my best stuff and start over.
Yeah. Yeah, keep the treasure, man. Thanks so much. It's SHOTCAST episode 15 in the books. KRich, we got the technology going, the iPad in the middle. Things are happening. Thanks so much for tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe with anybody you love. We're doing this for you. It's a SHOTCAST, baby.
Be good.